So now I'm going to show you how to begin a butterfly wing. You need to use this wire or something similar, kind of thick, and it's coated. It's called clothesline wire or multi-purpose wire. Believe it or not, the main structure of the wing, this is 14 feet for the first wire. And then I have a piece that is 50 inches and one that's 33 inches. Then you want a bunch of duct tape cut up into pieces about this big and a bunch of masking tape in pieces about this big. And these are the good wire cutters to use for it, nice heavy ones for this. You need some space for this because it's going to kind of go wild all over the place when you first begin. The black line on the pattern represents the first 14-foot wire. And you want to start here. And you're going to put it down. And I use the masking tape at first to hold it down. So we just go along and bend the wire. And every time we take a turn or it seems like it doesn't want to stay in place, you kind of push it back in the other direction until you kind of coax it into shape. It can be a little frustrating until you get the hang of it. And this kind of open loop is just open in order to show you that it doubles back on itself. So you want to make kind of a tight turn here and pinch it together. And you can use pliers for that if you want. And the idea is that it runs really tightly along this line here, and you just keep going. Okay. And I just turned it up at the top up here at a 90-degree angle. It's actually going to turn into a spindly antenna in the end. We're going to just tie it to itself for now, because if you make a spindle right now, they all get hooked together and it's really annoying. Now I'm going to start pulling it up a little at a time. I'm going to thread this one end piece through here, and I'm going to tie this to here and bundle this whole inflection point together. Okay, so that's, and basically wherever the wire is kind of separating, is going to separate, like this is going to become the antenna, you want to tie it together with the duct tape. This area here should be relatively straight because this is where the wings connect and the body connects. And this area here is kind of hard to tie together, so you want a couple of pieces in there. And that is step one. For step two, it's the 33-inch wire. Step two is the red line here. You start by making a big, very severe right angle and another right angle there. And another one here. And then against the body. Every time it makes a turn or that's like right where it's connecting, that's where the tape goes. And then we take just a really big one and hook all that together. Okay, now step 3, 50-inch one, make right angle. None of these wings are going to be totally the same, and that's okay, because nothing in nature is actually really truly symmetrical. Another angle. And then this one comes down and doubles back up so that we have a really strong structure, many wires going through the center. And back again. Okay, there are two last wires that are very thin that hold the structure this way. So the last step are adding two thin wires, about 20 gauge galvanized steel. And you want to, this thin line represents this wire. So in order to twist this wire, you want to pinch them together and really hold that in place as you pull and wrap around that wire. And then you'll come down here and you want to make it pretty, like whatever the structure you want. And then I'm going to pinch again and again pull really tightly around the wire on one side. Pull it all the way through and then go on the other side of the wire and pull it all the way around and through and really pinch it around. And then you just follow the line down. You want to hit this spot connection here and all the way down doing the same thing. Done. The step that we need to work on today is gluing. Somebody is also going to be cutting up sheets and making them about this size. You want to make sure the fabric is touching all the edges. Then you're going to fold it back half, like this. And then you're going to take your glue gun. You're just going to go through about 3 inches. You don't have to do the thin wires. And then you pull it that way and you start in the middle and flatten it, like that. And then it's just more of the same. You fold it down to where you were, 3 inches. Once you get to the top here, actually you don't have to do the center. And then I'll go a little further so I get up there. Pull up. And then you go the other way. So you fold up this direction. 3 inches. And the idea is to try to get it as taut as possible in the middle, but there is a sewing step that will, is the next step, where we sew it down and we make it taut at the same time, which will mitigate that. It will stick to the cardboard. So as soon as you notice that's happening, just pull it out. And then you want to take a pair of scissors and trim about 1.5 inches, 2 inches around.
Strip around the wing. Then you should now start to create the strip.
Right side, gotta do a left side.
I want people to start putting strips on the back. Would you do a demo for that? We're going to put these strips over the wires so that they're covered. So now we're going to sew the wings. I use crochet thread for this, which is rather thick, and you need a needle that has a big hole in it for that, very sharp at the end. I use a really long piece of thread because I hate rethreading, and we're going to be making very long whip stitches. If you want to tie a knot in the end, it's very simple. You could just go around 2 fingers and you roll it off your fingers and pull, and it makes a nice, ugly, but big knot. Most of this is going to get covered up with paint, so you don't have to worry too much, and you can kind of start wherever you want. I'm going to start at the center line here. So the idea is we want to tuck these in as we go, these edges that went over the wire to cover it up. And there's 2 goals. One is add more structure along these veins that go through, and another one is to pull the fabric taut so it's not wiggly in the middle like that. So in order to do that, we take the needle and we put it in kind of far from the center, and then you kind of pull the needle towards the center, and I'm going to take it under here on the other side of that strip, and I'm going to, so it's pretty far from the center line actually, and as you pull in, it pulls the fabric in. So then I'm going to go about another inch, and I'm going to take my needle and come out here and pull in with it and go on the, I'm going wide with the needle under there and pulling, and it's getting tight. And right now it's puckering a little bit. When I do it on the other side, it's going to tighten the whole thing. I like these white floppy edges here, kind of add a delicacy on the wing, I think, and will flutter in the wind nicely. So instead of taking both sides in like I did here, I'm going to leave this side out and go close to the edge, but take this side in. So I'm still pulling the center taut, but it'll be kind of floppy on the outside, right? So you would just continue that way all the way around and get all the center big wires, and then you will be done. When I decided I wanted to do monarch butterflies, I needed a reference image, and I used monarchs because this is used a lot for migrants and immigrants, this image a lot. I'm also using it to look at as my reference image, but it can be very loose. So first I'm going to draw just with a magic marker just where the orange is going to go, basically. So I'm going to kind of make it up a little. There's white kind of circles on the edge in places, like it doesn't have to be exactly right. And some white circles. I have watered down this orange. It's also just wall paint, a whole lot. Like it's half paint, half water. So it's going to have a watercolor effect. So the yellow and the orange are kind of done at the same time. I want a couple of yellow dots up here. Add some orange in here, like I did over there. That might look like black, but I put red and yellow in it so that it looks more orange. We have our painted wings, and now we need to attach them together. These are inner tubes from bike tires. You can get, they're throwing away bike tires in inner tubes at bike stores. So you can just get a whole bunch of them, cut them down to strips about this big. So this is the front side, and the back is here. Basically, we want these two sides together to hold together, and the way to make it really tight is we're going to fold them together like this, and then we just want two places that are really going to be the most firmly and held in place. I think I'm going to do it like here and here. No, here and here. I'm just going to cut a little hole in here and in this one, and then we're going to lace these through and just going to tightly tie them together like that. Put one more in there for good measure. You want to go back and forth with the direction you're tying the knots, so they are together. Okay, so now we're going to make the body of the butterfly, which is covered by black fabric, which is what we do when we finish it. But the structure in here, I'm going to show you now. And this is what the structure will look like when we're done. The first thing you have to do is cut the end of a cardboard tube. These are 2-inch cardboard tubes. You need to cut here and here so that it fits at an angle like that. You want to make your shape like this. The one I made is about like that, equal on both sides. You can make it deeper if you want, but this side will change, it will be like that. To cut it, you start and you just kind of saw it along, and then you got to go a little bit the other direction, which is harder. And then the other side. And I can see it's not pointed at the end, so I want to make it go a little further. That's pretty close, I bet. So you want it to fit fairly snug. You want to go like about an inch down from the point and make a hole that goes straight through. You need a piece of wire, for the same wire used to make the butterflies. I'm going to say make about 1.5 feet long. Go through both sides. You'll use just a 1 foot, it can be straight at the ends, 1 foot piece to go around. So you just bend both sides up as tightly as you can. You crisscross it really tightly over the top and twist it, which actually takes a lot of hand strength. And one around the other, And then you want to make sure this is just, you want to make sure this goes around too. So the other way. The whole idea is to just make it as tight as possible. But that is still not tight enough. You want to get it right in the middle and then use a glue gun. Okay, so now we're going to attach the body to the wings. I'm going to make one more hole in the middle here. And you could use a blade to do this, might be easier. You want the body to be as flush as possible to the wings, and I put this knot up here so you can open the wings a little and just really press those together. And then you want to lace through another one of these tubes. And you're going to just tie it on really tight. This is the front, and it's going to be tipped backwards a little when it's flying. So now I'm going to go back through this hole I made previously. So I'm going to do this. Again, tie it tightly. All right. So we're close, but this is still not, you see how it's really opening like that? We need to make sure it doesn't do that. The problem is it's just not held together enough. So I'm going to go a little bit up the curve here and just poke the wire through and tie it together. And then I'm going to bend the wires a little bit so that it opens. Just make sure it's tightly together there. And then I'm going to do one here. Okay, so I'm going to open it a little, like that, and you can kind of, there. Now it will work. So now we have to cover up all the ugliness here. And what we're going to use is just old t-shirts. If I wasn't hurrying, I personally would sew all this on, but I'm making 50 of these, so we're not going to sew them all on. Okay, so I'm just going to do one side, leave this floppy, and I'm going to turn it over and do the other side. From far away, if this is like in a protest, nobody will see all of the little details that didn't get done. And I'm going to bring this up and glue gun it over. You could keep adding layers if you want, or somehow use bulkier fabric if you want a little more going on there. You can then form them into an antenna. So I was unable to find poles that fit very snugly together. Pardon the gesture. This is 2-inch and this is 1.5 inch. So I'm just going to wrap some bubble wrap around the end. I wanted to find a way that I can help other people make art to save our country and our planet from authoritarianism and all of the harm that's happening to it right now. What I'm hoping is that people will do this themselves. So I'm showing you the vision that I've had for this protest, but when you go to a protest, you don't have to do what we're doing. You can come up with your own ideas, but I want you to have the skills.